This is 6 Minute English from BBC Learning English. I'm Liu.
And I'm more.
It's great that you are here to keep me company, to spend time with me so I don't get lonely, because loneliness is the subject of this program.
It's good to be here, Neil. I think many of us have experienced the lonely at some point. Maybe you felt lonely because all your friends have gone out for dinner without you, or maybe you felt lonely just because you don't fit in somewhere.
Yes, that's when we sometimes use the expressions to feel lonely in a crime. Well, we will be exploring if this is a new idea or something humans have always experienced, and along the way we will be teaching you some new vocabulary.
But now I'm here to keep you company. How about a question for me?
Of course, when one person live loneliness is very He's living alone on Boreas Islands in India for many years, but how many years exactly? Is it A, 6 years, B, 31 years, or C, 44 years?
44 years would be tough, as would 51, so I will go for 6 years.
Okay, Rob, we will find out later with that right. Now, I'm sure we all want to be alone from, from time to time. Let's skip the demand of our crash or the pressures of real life, but would we really want to be totally alone?
Well, I certainly wouldn't, and research has found that prolonged social isolation is bad for us, particularly mentally.
It's an interesting topic and one that the BBC Radio 4 program Thinking Aloud has been exploring. It's great from for Harvard, with reader in history at the University of York explained how loneliness is a relatively new emotional stage.
A state is a condition at a particular time. Let's hear what she had to say about references to loneliness in literature. Well, novels are fascinating because there's a difference between novels in the 18th century when they first came into being and novels in the 19th century. In the 18th century, something like Robinson Crusoe, there's not a single reference to loneliness. By the 19th century, novels are full of lonely people, and that reflects those kinds of social changes.
Give me some examples. What may count as examples?
Well, I suppose I'm thinking about if you compare something like Wuthering Heights, where you have this desperate desire on the part of the heroine to find love, which is bound up to in this sense of the self not being complete up without another, or a test of the Uberfels, and so Victorian fiction in particular tends to be full of women who are in search of the significant other and needing to find happiness and an absence of loneliness in the domestic. It's interesting that Faye mentions the story of Robinson Crusoe about a man living on a desert, desert island does not mention the word loneliness, but because of the shift in how people behave and thought in the 19th century called social change, loneliness became an emotion that was written about in stories.
But loneliness tended to be something affect, affecting women. Uh, they were searching for happiness by finding a significant other, a partner, usually a man. who they wanted to marry, how things have changed.
Yes, now they also went on to talk about how some female authors like Fiona Woolf look for solitude that's being alone because that helped them be creative.
Even today, being alone gives us space and time to think as long as it does not last forever anywhere anyway. As we mentioned that we have probably all been alone at some point, and Voice Bones earlier told the Thinking Aloud program that loneliness can take many forms.
Absolutely, I think that loneliness is something that affects all people but at different times in their lives. I would describe in terms of page bonds. There's sometimes when we get married, we become mothers, we get this default. Anything that changes our life might put us under temporary loneliness. When is a problem is when it becomes chron- chronic.
It seems that there's certain times in our lives where we might feel lonely when we break up with our partner or have a baby and feel isolated. For example, these moments that what describes uh pinch points times in your life where there are difficult and things slow down or change.
We could say loneliness at these times is understandable, normal, and temporary. When it becomes a bigger issue is what Faye describes as chronic, so long lasting.
And this is not always ob- obvious or to other people, so it's good to check in with friends and family to see how they are feeling and to ask if they are okay. Of course, it would be difficult to check in on Mary who's been living on Bali Islands in India for many years. How many years exactly?
Well, I thought 6 years, was I right?
I'm fortunate. Is exact is actually been 51 years is told National Geographic as Geographic magazines. I'm source in a person here, but it's a person that I'm choose for myself. I'm I'm guessing he's got used to his own companies. I'm certainly could not live alone for that long. I would be too lonely. I need company. What?
Yeah, me too, Neil. And loneliness is what we've been discussing in this program. Here's a recap of some of the vocabulary we've mentioned. Firstly, to keep someone company is to spend time with someone so they don't get lonely.
Social change is a shift in how people behave and think.
A significant other is an informal way of describing a partner.
Solitude describes being alone.
When talking about life, pitch points are times where there are difficulties and things slow down or change, and chronic describes a health condition that is long lasting.
And that's all we have time for this in this program. But remember you can find more useful vocabulary, training topics, and help with you language learning. Here's as BBC Learning English. We also have an apps that you can download for free from the App Store. And of course, we are all over social media. Bye for now.
Bye.